Oh dear, there is trouble in crypto paradise, my friends. Believe it or not, the scam artists behind the Trump family crypto scam are being sued by one of their scam artist partners. I mean, who could have seen that coming? A Chinese crypto mogul is suing a crypto firm co-owned, co-founded by President Trump and his family for alleged fraud. Justin Sun is accusing World Liberty Financial of freezing his investment to pressure him into promoting one of its other offerings. Now, Eric Trump is calling the suit ridiculous. They sold you freedom from the elites and a chance to ride with the Trump family into the brave new world of crypto. But instead, the app never launched, the token is tanking, and one of their biggest bankers is publicly calling himself now a victim. As usual, with anything Trump-related, there is so much more to this story, not the least of which is the future of the U.S. currency regime. I'm Max from UNFR for the Midas Touch Network. Let's get into it, shall we? Last year, we walked you through the Trump family crypto empire, a DeFi company called World Liberty Financial, a stablecoin called USD1, meme coins, and NFTs with Trump's face on them, and a flood of dark foreign money that wasn't revealed until after his election. Well, today, to no one's surprise, that machine is sputtering in public, and the wheels are coming off World Liberty Financial, and it's exposing exactly how the scam was built from day one. But before we get to how it's unraveling and what it means in the big picture, let's do a quick refresh on how the scam was constructed and what they're still trying to pull off, because it truly remains one of the biggest financial scandals in modern history, and it's still going on. World Liberty Financial, WLFI, is the Trump family's decentralized finance or DeFi play. You take what a bank does, like loans and payments and transfers, and you rebuild it on the blockchain so that no one's in charge and everyone's in charge, and everything's transparent. Lovely. WLFI launched in 2024, right in the middle of the presidential campaign, as you might remember. And on paper, the company is owned by the Trumps and their friends, the Viditas, who are negotiating the deal in Iran for some ridiculous reason, and a few strategic partners to boot. In reality, up to 86% of the equity started in just the Trump family's hands, and they rolled out two main products, WLFI governance tokens, which are supposed to give you a say in how the platform is run, and USD1, a Trump-branded stablecoin pegged to the dollar that ended up starring in a multi-billion-dollar deal with Binance. At the same time, Trump was openly campaigning as the crypto president, promising to unleash the industry, neuter the regulators, and make America the crypto capital of the world. And once back in office, he did that. Enforcement cases were suddenly dropped, and oversight was gutted. Industry insiders were invited to help write new rules, even as they were pumping money into Trump-branded projects and pro-Trump PACs. It's ridiculous. So the result is a crypto empire with multiple toll booths, right? Token coins, NFTs, mining, Truth Social spin-offs, all sitting on top of the federal government's rulebook, which Trump now edits in real time. So now let's walk through what World Liberty has actually accomplished. First of all, raising money, and a lot of it. So, shortly after they launched, World Liberty started selling WLFI tokens, and they were pitched as digital assets that let you vote on key decisions on the protocol. And that's nothing new. That's what a lot of these tokens do. So it's not necessarily stock, right? There's no ownership, but they are tradable. So if you can find somebody else to buy your bag of tokens, there is value there. And in total, that token sale pulled in more than $550 million. And according to Trump's own financial disclosure, he personally had at least $57 million worth of tokens by June of 2025. And that's just what he put on paper. Then comes the equity flip. When World Liberty was created, the Trumps controlled up to 86% of the company's stock. 4 days. 4 days before the inauguration, the brother of the ruler of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Tahnoon bin Zayed, quietly bought 49% for $500 million. So the Trump family walked away with at least $187 million from that deal alone. 4 days before the inauguration. 4 days. 4 days before the inauguration. 4 days. Now, the sheik isn't some anonymous investor. He's the National Security Advisor for the UAE, and he chairs a $1 trillion sovereign wealth fund that puts money behind investments like SpaceX, BlackRock, OpenAI, TikTok. Oh yeah, and Jared Kushner's fund. So you don't have to be a conspiracy theorist to see the conflict of interest here. You just have to ask why a foreign security chief would spend $500 million to buy into the president's side hustle. So the question, of course, is what did World Liberty build with all of that hype and all of that cash? And you're not going to believe it. Not much. There's no mass market banking revolution, no user-friendly freedom from woke banks, no evidence that the average American has gained any meaningful new financial tool. Instead, they did accomplish 2 things. They issued the governance tokens that were supposed to give holders a say over how the protocol is run, even though there's only been about 10 votes, and none of them on anything meaningful. And second, they created USD1, a stablecoin pegged to the dollar, and its big break came when that same sheik's investment vehicle used USD1 to route a $2 billion deal into Binance. That single transaction gave USD1 instant legitimacy and volume, and conveniently deepened the financial ties between the Trump family's crypto project and one of the most controversial exchanges on the planet. So, let's zoom out for a second, because this is actually more than a Trump family side hustle. In reality, it plugs into a much bigger fight over who runs the dollar in the digital world. Now, if you didn't see our original reporting on Midas and aren't familiar with this new crypto universe, a stablecoin is just a dollar IOU, but on the blockchain. You send a company $1 real. They have to park it in something safe, like cash, treasury bills, something like that. And then they give you a token that's worth that same dollar at the same time. And you can move that token around the world in seconds and swap it in and out of crypto and treat it like synthetic cash. And there's a ton of value to this, because it truly does increase the speed, access, and mobility of financial transactions, and it eliminates these really costly intermediaries. And right now, almost all of these things are dollar stablecoins. They're not built on the euro or the yuan. They're dollars. Now, this is in contrast to what the BRICS nations are trying to build, by the way, because we've pissed off so many countries that we run the risk of breaking this dollar-dominant system. But it's still in the early stages. But that's for another day. The downside is that they can also operate like shadow dollars that live outside the banking system. See, crypto traders use them as fast collateral, and offshore money uses them as a backdoor into U.S. safety without touching U.S. banks. So, there are still opacity issues. But one thing the administration has been transparent about, believe it or not, is how dollar-based stablecoins is a Trojan horse for dollar demand, similar to the petrodollar, for example, and by extension, treasury demand, when these stablecoins are used to purchase treasuries. Because when you issue a big stablecoin, your reserves aren't just sitting in a shoebox. They're mostly in short-term treasuries, which are IOUs from the government. And the more stablecoins are out there, the more hidden demand there is for those IOUs, and the more deeply wired the dollar stays into global finance. So this is where it gets super tricky. When the Fed issues dollars, it holds interest-bearing assets and then sends the profits, what economists call seigniorage, back into the system to the public for us. When private stablecoin issuers do the same thing, it keeps that interest for itself. So, this is how the Fed is self-sustaining. It's how it makes money. It mints these dollars, and there's a fee. If you take them, they keep that fee, and that's how they run. The same thing goes for the stablecoins. They mint these stablecoins. There's a tiny fee to put them out into the world, and then whoever mints that coin gets to keep that. It's the same basic balance sheet, but it's completely different in terms of who gets paid, and the crypto lobby knows this, which is why they push like hell for these three things in Washington. A law that blesses a short list of payment stablecoins as the official digital dollars for trading and settlement. A regime that puts those coins under a friendlier regulator like the CFTC instead of the very harsh SEC. And an anti-CBDC bill that bans the Federal Reserve from launching its own digital dollar. And Trump has, as much as he can, delivered on that wish list. He signed the Genius Act already. It was that first one. That's the first big stablecoin law, and it's got industry lobbyists and donors cheering. He issued an executive order also telling his agencies to prioritize private dollar-backed stablecoins and shove any serious work on a Fed-run digital currency. That's because the other bills haven't passed yet. So he's trying to do an end run around it, and his allies have pushed this anti-surveillance dollar bill that would effectively kneecap the Fed's ability to compete with these private issuers. So, when you put it all together, I'm sorry. I get very animated about this stuff because he's running the biggest scam in history. When you put it all together, there's a very clear picture here. Congress passes the crypto lobby bills. Regulators draw up a short list of approved dollar stablecoins. The anti-CBDC laws slam the door on a publicly Fed-run digital dollar. And then the White House makes sure that USD1, World Liberty's coin that they own, is on that short list. And from that moment on, every time a hedge fund or an exchange or a foreign central bank, anytime any institutional player decides to move money on Trump's rails instead of through the banking system, they're not just using the dollar once, they're using a Trump-branded dollar that sits on top of a pile of treasuries and cash. And the interest on that pile goes into his pocket instead of ours. That's what seigniorage looks like in this world, and that's what pay-to-play access looks like at the highest level. Imagine a foreign central bank has an option to purchase stablecoins, and they want to curry favor with a Republican administration. Which coin do you think they're going to use at this point? Donald Trump's. It's madness. So the Fed used to earn that spread and send it either to run its own operations or send it back into the Treasury. But under this setup, the spread goes directly to the Donald. So now, this is where we can actually get to something fun, because this is where we can see in real time the Trump family falling apart. Because they can't help themselves. When WLFI tokens hit the market last August, they opened around 45, and since then the price has dropped more than 80%. In the last few weeks, it's gone into a full slide, hovering around 7 cents. So, if you bought near the top, you're already wrecked. And part of that is the usual gravity of hype coins. But Mother Jones did some incredible reporting and some on-chain sleuthing to point to something more specific. WLFI executives have been taking those self-minted tokens and using them as collateral to borrow real money. Now, if these were forgivable, fungible, completely refundable tokens, that might not be a terrible thing, especially if they had enough in reserves that they owned, but they're using other people's tokens basically as collateral. To go do stuff like Alt5 is a significant player in this entire thing. It's a publicly traded crypto services firm, and they cut a deal so convoluted that it's designed to confuse you actually. So, Alt5 agrees to sell $1.5 billion worth of its own shares and use the proceeds to buy World Liberty tokens. And in return, World Liberty gets shares in Alt5. And the key World Liberty executives, including Eric Trump, slide into the top roles at Alt5, which just ended, by the way. So, there's even friction there. Girl, things are getting juicy. Then there's Dolomite. World Liberty borrows $75 million from Dolomite and posts World Liberty tokens as collateral, even though one of Dolomite's senior executives also happens to advise World Liberty. And since that loan closed, the World Liberty token price has dropped another 20+%, which means the collateral backing that loan is melting while the cash that they pulled out of the front door is real. And journalist Molly White, if you're interested in this stuff, follow Molly White. She makes the obvious point that print a token, borrow against it, hope it doesn't crash, is really common in crypto, and sometimes it's a clever way to bootstrap a project. Sometimes it's just the first chapter, though, of a slow-motion rug pull. Either way, if you're a retail holder, what you see is that the people who control the protocol are taking the asset that you thought you owned, leveraging it, and leaving you with all the risk. But wait, it gets even better, because if you want a character to show how rotten this whole setup is, enter Justin Sun. Justin Sun is a crypto billionaire who's famous for stunts like the $6 million banana duct taped to a wall that he wound up eating. That guy, he ran exchanges that got hit with a civil fraud lawsuit under the SEC under Biden, and then he pivoted hard, obviously, to support Trump in 2024 and embrace the crypto president brand. Well, he publicly buys $25 million worth of World Liberty tokens and then another $50 million on top. He became the top investor in Trump's separate memecoin as well. Now, under Biden, the SEC sues him. Trump puts the case on ice. Amazing. And then quietly settles it. However, last fall, when Sun should have been able to start selling his World Liberty tokens, World Liberty said it was freezing certain accounts, including his. Suddenly, the guy who poured tens of millions of dollars into Trump's DeFi project can't access the very tokens that he bought, and they refuse to explain the freeze except to accuse him of vague misconduct. So he responded by blasting the company on social media, calling himself its first and largest victim, and warning others not to exit liquidity for the Trump machine. And so, in his lawsuit, he alleges that World Liberty built secret tools into the system to freeze accounts and potentially wipe his tokens. And they tried to strong-arm him into dumping hundreds of millions of dollars more into USD1. In other words, they used his sunk costs to try and extort even more cash. So, World Liberty's response was to just mockingly post on X that, "We'll see you in court, pal." And honestly, it's hard to actually know who to root for in this one. Actually, no, it's not. No, it's not. Everyone's terrible. I'm rooting for no one. Anyway, World Liberty was supposed to be the flagship of the Trump crypto empire and the ultimate golden exit ramp where Donald Trump gets a cut of every dollar backed in minted stablecoins, which would make him, sorry to say, one of the wealthiest people to ever live. He would essentially be a private central bank. Imagine that. 20 months in, though, there's no functioning app. The governance is a joke. The token is down more than 80%, and they're using it as collateral in deals with friendly companies to line their own pockets. And they have a foreign security chief in the Middle East who owns almost half of the firm, and their biggest private backer is now suing them for allegedly freezing his assets and trying to shake him down. This is the Trumpiest Trump peccadillo that I've ever seen. But the danger is that the Senate takes up these bills again and gives him the ability to pull it all off. Of course, The good news for all of us is that he put Eric in charge. For the Midas Touch Network, I'm Max from UNFR. You can find me on YouTube and Blue Sky, UNFR. Don't forget to sign up for our free weekly newsletter at unfr.com. It's good seeing you all, and I'll catch you online. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber to our Substack at midasplus.com. You'll get daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, ad-free episodes of our podcast, and more exclusive content only available at midasplus.com.